Hey guys, welcome to the review of the Nvidia Shield. Now this is the second version released in January of 2017. So we'll kick things off with the new gaming controller, which has a rather unique design due to its new polygon type of design and look and feel. Now the one of the concerns I had was that, well, this might not be the most comfortable controller around, and actually I was kind of wrong on that point. It's surprisingly comfortable. I thought it would have to be a lot smoother to feel more better in the hand, but it's nice and comfortable to hold. It's a lot slimmer and smaller than the previous controller, which is also welcomed. All buttons are easy to reach and they feel comfortable, easy to press and use. And the home, back button, and forward button actually work properly on this version, whereas on the previous version it didn't. There's still a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can listen to content over your media streaming privately. And you have a micro USB port at the top. Now this controller, according to Nvidia, supports 60 hours of battery. I've been using it for about 3.5 weeks and I still haven't drained it. And it does take about 5 to 6 hours to recharge. One thing I don't like is that there's a volume slider in the middle, which I can tend to accidentally touch. And that Nvidia logo button at the middle is what you use to press and activate Google Assistant voice command. Another welcome addition is that this controller actually vibrates. Switching over to the remote control, previously this was a sold separately accessory, this time it's included in the box. It does have the voice search button, which works with Google Voice as well. It's extremely thin and light, which is nice, but also easy to lose. One thing I don't like is that also the volume slider is right here at the middle for the volume control, which I tend to press by accident quite often. I'm not sure what the battery life is like. There's no information regarding that. Now, according to Nvidia, this consumes about 5 to 10 watts of power. Now, this device is designed to be on 24/7. It's meant to be put to sleep so that when you press the remote control, for example, just tap a button, it'll wake up instantly and you're ready to use your media content. Over on the front of the device, there's nothing, and over on the top, there's also nothing. This Nvidia logo on the previous version was a touch wake up button. Now you can only wake up the device strictly using the remote control or the gaming controller. Now over on the back is where a lot of things are happening. Starting on the left side, we have ventilation. Moving over to that, we have two USB 3.0 ports, an HDMI port which accepts HDMI 2.0B. Unfortunately, there's no HDMI cord included in the box. An Ethernet gigabit port and the power slot. One thing that was sacrificed due to the smaller size is that previously on the old version there was a micro SD card slot. This one does not have that. Switching over to the bottom, there's additional ventilation. So without skipping into details about the exact measurements, to give you guys an idea of how small the new version is, I've placed the previous Nvidia Shield, my Galaxy Note 5 smartphone, and there is a new version on the left. This thing is extremely tiny and compact. Not only that, they kind of replicated the physical design, the peel, and the previous version looked nice, and so does this one, especially because it's so compact. I do wish that they included a USB port on the front though. So this media player comes in two different versions, and both versions have identical internal specs except for the internal storage. Now one version comes with 16 gigs, the other one comes with a whopping 500 gigs. Personally, I opted for the 16 gig option because I don't download a lot of Android apps. A lot of the media I have on hand is basically plugged in through the USB stick or through my Plex server. Now when it comes to the rest of the internal specs, this thing is identical to the original Nvidia Shield. It's running an Nvidia Tegra X1 processor with a 256 core GPU and 3 gigs of RAM, which basically means this is still the most powerful media player available on the market. Now, that might be disappointing that it has the same specs as the previous version, but honestly, it's still really overkill for what you need for your day-to-day media playback. Now, it does support playback of 4K HDR videos, even at 60 frames per second. It does play H.264 and H.265 compressed videos, such as MKV, MP4, and AVI files. It does also support Dolby Atmos and DTS:X surround sound pass-through over HDMI. In regards to wireless technology, it does support Bluetooth 4.1 and Wi-Fi 802.11 AC. Out of the box, it's rocking Android 7.0 Nougat with an Android TV skin overlay. Okay, so what you guys are seeing now is central interface powered by Android TV Nougat. So the top section is actually recommendations, which is pulled from Hulu, can be pulled from YouTube accounts and other stuff. I'll notice a lot of the times it's inaccurate. It has nothing to do with what I'm interested in. Very rarely does it actually capture good results for me based on recommendations. So one of the major differences about the upgraded version, I think this upgrade will also be pushing to the original Nvidia Shield with Nougat, is Google Assistant. So you can access it in two ways, by going to the top or just simply hitting the voice search button. But it's really limited. It doesn't work the way Nvidia kind of demonstrated at CES. They didn't really lie with advertising, but they didn't mention that it's not going to work out of the box clearly enough. You really have to dig through the website to really find those nitty-gritty details, which is kind of lame and a kick in the butt from Nvidia. So for example, play Narcos on Netflix. So I'm getting YouTube results and Hulu results for what I just said, but if I just simply say Narcos, it gives me the search result for Netflix, and if I select this, it'll actually start playing Narcos in Netflix. I can't do it seamlessly. Another major issue I'm noticing is that I have Google Home connected to my Shield. It's all centralized in the Google Home app on my Android device, but if I try to use the command through Google Home, it won't work either. The Google Assistant is not fully functioning, and also another problem is that the hands-free activation, so basically Google Assistant always listening on the Nvidia Shield, is also not working. They just said it'll be available early 2017, so a lot of things you expect to be ready out of the box are not ready and working yet. Very unfortunate. Now, since this is powered by Android TV, there is actually accessibility to Google Play. Now, Google Play is not what you would think. It's actually pulling data from Android TV apps. You will not get the full apps list available for a tablet or your smartphone. Now, there are some core apps available like Plex, VLC, just to name some of the top. But the problem is that there's a lot of apps missing that you expect. It seems that even in the last 2-3 years, Android TV's been out. Google hasn't really pushed it on developers that hard. It seems like they don't really care about Android TV. So there's a lot of apps missing. You just have the core ones like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, which is finally available now. Which had a major issue in itself. Amazon TV is available in Canada here, but for some reason it's not included with the Nvidia Shield when you power it on. So there is actually a workaround to this. I'm actually using my Amazon Prime account because the service is available in Canada on the Nvidia Shield. I'll have a video explaining how to get Amazon Video on your Nvidia Shield if it is missing for you. Alright, so jumping into Netflix, it typically takes about 10 seconds if you're opening it for the first time. So the reason it opened for me like instantly just now is because I recently closed it, so it's kind of retained that in its RAM, I guess. So Netflix, as you expect, you have accessibility to your profiles. I have no idea what the hell this is. Let's kind of skip down. You have access to your 4K content, your lists. So I can't play a lot of Hulu and Netflix content or Amazon. YouTube has this kind of smart video search, so if I play copyrighted material, it'll actually ban this video you're literally watching right now. So I can't really demonstrate it, so I apologize, but I just want to show you how the general interface works. It's super lightning fast, as you expect from this media player. So we're going to jump into the YouTube app, which is still powered by Android Leanback, the interface design from Google, which they haven't really changed in like 5 years. It's not that great. The only saving grace to really speed things up is the voice search, which is actually really accurate. So, babbling Boolean. So it's pretty quick. Everything I'm demonstrating for you guys is actually on Wi-Fi as well. Keep that in mind. I do not have an Ethernet connection. So if I were to fast forward and rewind, it works great and it's really snappy. That also depends on your internet connection, of course. So one of the main things we're going to jump into now is Amazon. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the first time Amazon TV is available on an Android TV device. So this is kind of like, you know, a big thing for a lot of people, especially because it supports 4K HDR in some of their content. The app itself is kind of sluggish, even on the Nvidia Shield, surprisingly. I think that's more that the app wasn't really designed that well. It's easy to navigate, it's easy to use, it's just a little bit slower than Netflix or Hulu Plus, just as an example, but the general concept of the way it works and navigation, it's okay. So this time I'm going to jump into Hulu. Again, I'm just giving you quick demonstrations of how it works, the speed. I really want to demonstrate gaming, which is like one of the core functions, playing it from my PC especially. We'll get into that really shortly. But yeah, you have your watch lists available here. And all at the end, we have VLC. Now, VLC and Plex are the two apps I use to play my local area video content on my server, or if there's a USB stick plugged in at the back of the Nvidia Shield that I use during testing. It works as you would expect. VLC player can play almost anything you would really expect it to, just like on a computer. And the last essential media service that I use is Plex, which is basically connecting to my desktop PC upstairs. Again, this is all through wireless connection. So I have my home videos filtered out through. The only thing I notice is that the sorting is absolutely terrible. I can't see the full title of the folders. This has always been a problem with Plex. It's been a problem for a number of years now, but if you were to do something like movies and it's pulling metadata, it does a great job of giving you a preview, giving you the full name of the movie, for example, and the same thing kind of carries over to TV shows. So I'm going to go over Nvidia Game Center. So basically when you go into this app, you have a whole bunch of sections. So there's two main sections to this. One is through the Nvidia cloud system and one is your gaming PC. So we'll go back to my gaming PC just shortly. So if you have a GeForce Now account, you actually have access to these games on the cloud. So these will actually play on Nvidia servers. There's a subscription fee to be a member of this account. They do give you a trial membership if you're like new to it, and some games they're not included with the membership, like this one, Witcher 3 for example. You have to pay $60. Now the service works great despite it being played on the Nvidia's cloud servers. I think it's fantastic. The response is fantastic. I just don't know how they did it, but they did, and it's wicked awesome. You can get games at 1080p at 60 frames per second, just as an example. And you do have Android games here, and you do have Android games on Google Play, but honestly that's not really where the strength of the Nvidia Shield is. I'm not gonna really focus on that. So let's go back to my gaming PC. So I have a GTX 1080 in my gaming PC, and the way it works is that I'm able to kind of go over to it. So if I go to this, you'll see that I have Steam. So I'll go to my PC, but you don't have to do it through this method. You can also just go to My Games. Your Nvidia graphic card will try to detect which games and services you have installed. So for example, I had Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5. It'll automatically detect that, but then it'll also recognize that, hey, this computer has Steam activated on online. So it's able to connect with Steam, EA Origins, and Ubisoft, which is Uplay, which I have tested. It works just fine. So if I were to go to Steam, for example, it's a standalone app, which I notice sometimes will flicker your computer desktop really quick, and then go into this interface. This does have a web browser built in here. You can go to Google. It's horrendous. It's awful. Just avoid it. You can actually download the Google Chrome web browser app on the Google Play Store itself. Because this is Android, you can technically sideload apps if you want to. But if I were to play a game that's automatically detected with my graphic card, I just go here and it'll start loading it up. Okay, so I have Phantom Pain up and running. And I noticed that like it doesn't matter what testing I do. Again, I'm on Wi-Fi. The connection is seamless. It's flawless. I get no lag. You know, just even a shooting game like this, it works great. One of the things you want to keep in mind is that the Nvidia Shield is not doing any of the work. It's a middleman type of thing. It's a bridge to your gaming PC. Your gaming PC is doing all the hardware work here. So the more powerful your PC is, the better performance you're going to get, because that's basically doing all the work. So one of the things to keep in mind is that yes, the gaming controller does work just fine. A lot of the PC games I've tested, it seems to adapt over to carrying over to using the Nvidia gaming controller. And because this is powered by Android TV, anything the Google Chromecast can do, the Nvidia Shield can do, but more. So what I'm doing right now is actually broadcasting and streaming over my Android device. If I switch over to my camera, for example, it'll pick up the camera on my cell phone, so you do have that mirror capability. And the last thing I want to show you guys is how you can project whatever's being broadcasted on a Chromecast web browser on a computer to the Nvidia Shield. So for example, I have my MacBook Air, which is not connected to the TV. This is all going to be done wirelessly. So I'm going to select the Chromecast extension on my Google Chrome browser and cast to the Shield. So what you guys see now is actually my MacBook Air. And for example, I'm playing an NBA game, make it full screen, and you have seamless audio video synchronization. And I just wanted to mention there's also a Kodi app available for Android. Personally, I don't really use it because I find it just to be more complicated than I need it to be. But if anyone is interested, yeah, it is available. And like the previous version of the Shield, there's a problem here that remains. Not all the apps you use will remain on the apps section. A lot of them tend to disappear. And I had to end up downloading an app called Sideload Launcher, which if you select it, this actually demonstrates all the apps you have available. So if you are missing any, you'll have to download something like this, which will display everything. This is more of an Android TV issue I'm noticing, but unfortunately it hasn't been fixed by Nvidia or by Google. So one thing I didn't answer is, if you have the original Nvidia Shield, do you need this version? The short answer is no. It has the same kind of speed performance because that is similar internal specs. All you have to do is upgrade your current version to the newest version of Android. Buy the current version Nvidia Shield controller, sync it with yours, and you're good to go. There's a tremendous amount of positives to this device. It's the most powerful media player on the market. And the price of $200, honestly, you can't really complain. And that's US dollars, by the way. And one thing I do want to mention, that there are some concerns though. I mean, the first thing is, if you're not in the US and you have Amazon Prime Video services in your country, the app is hidden for some reason, which I can show you how to get it back by watching the video in the video description. The other thing is that Google Always Listening from Google Assistant is not active out of the box. Now, this isn't false advertising because, well, Nvidia never really said it would be available out of the box, but they kind of give you that perception that, yeah, it's going to be ready. Well, it's not. It has terrible integration with Google Assistant for now. Hopefully that'll change in a future update. Overall, it's still the best media player in the market, definitely worth checking out. But that's pretty much it for me. So if you guys found this video useful, be sure to check out my Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and Instagram links in the video description. Hit that like button, it does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.